We're going to change tack now with focus. It's been exactly 5 years since Haiti was hit by a devastating earthquake in which more than 200,000 people lost their lives. More than 1.5 million were displaced. The international community responded generously with millions of dollars raised, and yet tens of thousands of people are still living in displaced people's camps. Isabelle, Roméro and Johan Bodin have been back to Haiti for today's focus to find out why.
In the heart of Port-au-Prince, the city's main park used to be a giant tent camp for thousands of quake survivors. The settlement is now dismantled, the place fenced off to keep people at bay. For the authorities, this central historic area is a priority reconstruction zone, but rubble and ruins are everywhere. The scars of the destruction seem as fresh as ever. Meanwhile, some of the people left homeless by the quake have been pushed back just a bit further away. For the past 5 years, Lifette and her family have been living in this hut. And an estimated 80,000 people in Port-au-Prince are still in a similar situation.
4 people live here in this very same room. I cook here, I sleep here, I do everything here. The shower is the toilet. But having a place to cook food, that's most important.
We leave Lifette and head further south by the hillside. 70 families live in this camp, but they've been asked to clear the premises. An NGO is in charge of finding them a roof.
In Haiti, tenants are asked to pay many months' rent in advance, often 6 months and up to 1 full year. So for those who've lost everything in the quake, building a new life in this city in ruins is not easy.
Families are handed out the equivalent of 400 euros to cover these expenses, yet the mood here remains pessimistic.
Within the past 5 years, many NGOs have already come here, but they haven't been able to do much. And besides them, nobody's done nothing.
They've given me a sheet of paper, but I don't know what it says.
Throughout Haiti's capital, dozens of thousands of temporary shelters built by various NGOs have become regular long-term homes. This French town planner has been living here for the past 4 years. He takes us on a tour of the Christ-Roi neighborhood, a place that illustrates what he calls a huge waste of international money.
This here is imported wood. It costs a fortune, something like $2,000 US. Give $3,000 US to a Haitian here and he'll build himself a real house like this one. When we tell people this, they're shocked because they realize how much money has been wasted in the construction of what's just a temporary housing unit. Looking at this, I see a shantytown. Looking at this one, built in the traditional way by the locals, well, I see something that I can call a real house.
Patrick Martin's NGO would like to improve urban planning in this community, but band-aid solutions by former NGOs and haphazard repair work by locals are hindering their efforts.
Haitians have all the necessary means to rebuild their towns. They just lack the technique. It's a shame because locals have been investing thousands of dollars from their own pockets just to consolidate what will remain precarious housing, unplanned neighborhoods, what we'd call a shantytown.
In most parts of Port-au-Prince, city planning is virtually non-existent. There are no construction guidelines. In this street, for instance, this house has a brand new floor. But the way it's built means it will become a deadly trap when the earth shakes again.
That's another problem. Things are often rebuilt regardless of anti-seismic standards. Construction materials are sometimes of poor quality. The sea is only 3 kilometers away from here. These steel reinforcing bars have become apparent because of the erosion by salty air. These are weak structures in an area located less than 100 kilometers from the fault line.
Haiti has 2 rainy seasons. Torrential rains and landslides are nothing out of the ordinary. Yet most of this neighborhood overlooks a deep trench.
The risk here is those houses collapsing downstream. In the past years, that has happened many times in Port-au-Prince.
Patrick Martin's NGO has helped reinforce the walls of this part of the gutter. His plan is to one day set up a sanitation center and cover up that trench.
les eaux noires, donc l'eau des toilettes, l'eau de ménage, est rejetée directement.
Right now, wastewater is directly thrown back from the houses into the trench. Wastewater seeps into the ground. But all along this trench, you'll find water wells, where people collect water for everyday use, to drink. This water has been tested many times. It contains fecal matter and various pollutants.
In Haiti, water quality remains very poor. It's a carrier for many diseases, especially the bacterium which causes cholera. The ongoing cholera outbreak in Haiti began in October 2010.
I'm fighting this disease so I can return home as soon as I can, because I have to provide my children with food. They have nothing. I was so ill.
After claiming the lives of nearly 9,000 people throughout the country and infecting 800,000, the worst cholera epidemic in recent history is receding, yet it remains ever present in urban areas.
To eliminate cholera takes time, because you, for one, have to treat the persons who have cholera, and for the other, you have to work on the prevention, where you work on also partially development to make sure that the water systems and the hygiene is good and that people can prevent themselves from getting the disease.
Within the past 5 years, if foreign aid had provided Port-au-Prince with modern water supply and sanitation infrastructures, people's quality of life would have drastically improved in many parts of the city. Most of the international money now being spent in Haiti is to fund emergency response units. On the outskirts of the city, members of the Haitian Civil Protection Agency are training. Nearby, dozens of containers packed with emergency gear sent in by the European Union.
This is our typical first response material: stretchers, pickaxes, shovels. There is a small electric generator to provide people with minimum lighting in case they must work at night. There's also gear aimed at saving lives in flood situations.
5 years after the quake, the reconstruction of Port-au-Prince seems stuck in short-term solutions. But if a natural disaster was to strike again, the city has some equipment to endure it.